whole nother level, but still keep it ghetto, whole nother level, but still keep it ghetto, whole nother level.
Welcome to episode 32 of The Process of Hip Hop. I'm Brian Joseph, writer, blogger at theprocessofhiphop.com. And as always, it's all about the process. In today's interview segment, I'll be talking to Soulstice. Soulstice is a producer from Portland, Maine. So let's get into it.
I'd like to welcome to the Process of Hip Hop, all the way from Maine, my man Soulstice. What's going on, brother?
How you doing, man? Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining the Process of Hip Hop. So I've had a chance. Yes. I've had a chance to listen to your music, man, and definitely like the vibe and the style. But for those that don't know, tell us about how you got your start in hip hop, kind of your early influences.
Yeah, okay. So, how I started really was I started getting really interested in the production aspect of just like whenever I'd listen to something on the radio or I'd hear a beat or a song even that I was really liking, I'd always have that ear for like the beat side of things, as well as obviously the rapping was dope, but I always had that ear for the production. I'd be like hearing something with like maybe Tribe Called Quest or something. I'd be like, damn, bro, what is that beat behind that, man? That shit's fire. Yeah. So I was like, okay, like maybe I could start making beats. So I started messing around on pirated versions of FL. And because at first you do what you can with what you got. And I just started messing around on FL, and the very first really piece of equipment I got was the MPD from Akai. It wasn't even really an MPC, but I started messing around on that, and I started to really like love making beats and stuff. And then after that, I really got into that was when I found Jay Dilla, bro, and he's one of my biggest inspirations of all time, and the reason why I really started making beats, like getting serious into it. And I would just listen for hours and hours on end to like his catalog and just be blown away by the things he was able to do with the equipment he had. And take in mind, like, he was doing this thing in the 90s, early 90s when he started out, and they didn't even have the stuff that we do now. So hearing all the ways he would flip things and use the equipment just blew me away, and I was instantly inspired. So he's definitely up there. I'd say, in my opinion, he's probably the best to ever do it, but I feel like a lot of people share the same sentiment. But those two are really the reason why I started making beats as well.
And it's interesting that you say that, because Jay Dilla, obviously one of the if not one of the best. I'll just say it's hard to say because his career was cut short. You don't know
that's true.
What he would have continued to do, but at the time, and he is widely considered. I have a list of about 10 producers who I consider kind of in that super elite category, and he's definitely one of them. And one of the things I think with his production, and I hear his influences in your music, is that prior to I would say Jay Dilla, but you can even say the same thing with Premier and Dre. When they took their production in another direction than what it was previously doing. And I think whenever you have kind of that innovative, revolutionary style of the genre, that's when I think you've embarked upon something from a production standpoint that is truly special. Because, there's a lot of imitation in hip hop, just like every other genre. And so it's really easy to just do what others, have been doing. But when you have, as you said, that kind of takes the music into a different direction and just does things sonically that you haven't heard, it's, definitely worth that style. Now, you have that influence of Dilla, Tip. It's definitely a lo-fi style. What made you want to get into that as opposed to something like a Timbaland or Pharrell?
Well, I would just say, like I said earlier, man, just the influence Dilla had on me, as well as one of my other favorite producers is Nujabes. I don't know if you've ever heard of him,
Yes.
but he has that awesome lo-fi
Mhm.
style/sound to it. I also wanted to make something a little bit different than everyone else was doing as well, like you said.
Yeah.
I really think it's important to kind of experiment and just have fun with it and see where you can implement your own style. Like, it's cool to be inspired by other people, but at the same time, you can't copy, man. You gotta be inspired and create something else that was inspired by the artists that you look up to. Same as what they did as well. You know, Jay Dilla was a huge fan of Pete Rock. He didn't like copy and paste Pete Rock's beats into like Jay Dilla beats. Nah, man. He took that and turned it into something new. And that's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do, man. I'm trying to evolve my sound and grow as an artist as well, you know. Keep the culture going.
Yeah, definitely. So let me ask you, man, what was the first time? Tell me about your first project and when you first felt like a producer.
Okay, that's a good question, man. I'd say I've worked on quite a few projects. Most of them have been solo, but I've done a few collabs here and there with other producers and artists. I'd say really the project that made me feel like a producer was when I collabed with, shout out to my homie at Jay Soulstice. He's a really dope rapper. He's actually pretty sure he's from LA. And we produced on a project. Um, and really, like, I gave him like a little kind of like lo-fi abstract kind of thing, and he really took it to the next level. I was like, wow, man, if you send your beats out to the right people, man, like, it's crazy how it just takes it to a whole nother level, man.
Yes. I think with production, in another, you talk about the first project. When you did that, was there a sense of accomplishment, and how did that propel you towards the next project?
Absolutely, I felt like I was starting to actually like get somewhere musically. You know, I was starting to reach out more to other artists and have artists actually reach out to me and ask me, "Hey, man, do you think you could send this over to me?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, man." And we'd shoot emails back and forth and stuff like that. And it was very, very exciting and very humbling as well. It's a really cool experience, and I think it'll propel me in the future towards other projects, just to learn to reach out more to other artists, and don't think just because you're in a certain spot you can't reach out to other artists. Like, say you have less of a following or whatever. I think it's really more about the quality of the music that you provide. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just gonna try and bring the best that I can into everything I do, and hopefully it'll propel me further into whatever I decide to do in the future.
I think you said something interesting as far as putting the best in everything you do. I'm not saying that it's a misconception, but I do feel like it's not always understood how much time, and as a producer, how much seek time it takes to really be good. Just like
Oh
anything
yeah,
else, we're talking about it takes a lot of time to be good. You want to be good at skateboarding, better spend a lot of time. You want to be good at singing, going to spend a lot of time. And so production's no different. And so, you know,
absolutely.
having that opportunity and ability and desire to want to continue to create and establish greatness is something that not all artists or not all producers want to do. Everybody wants the fame and everybody wants the end result, but they
Yeah,
don't always want to put in the time. And so, you talking about, you know, putting your best foot forward or putting your best into your projects, I think is important. Now, as
absolutely.
as far as the artists that you've worked with, though, have they all been, because artists are, and similar to producers, artists tend to have a certain style that they like to work with in terms of production. At least I'll say in their early career.
Oh yeah, yep.
Have you found that the artists that you've worked with have been the type that typically like to rhyme over lo-fi type beats, or have they been ones that have tackled different genres of production as well?
I'd say yes and no. I'd say the first few people that I've collabed with were really mainly just strictly like hip hop cats, and who are just really into like the hip hop, like boom bap kind of scene or whatever. But I've had a few artists who are just like really kind of out there.
Yeah.
There was an artist that I worked with a little while back, and she just had I don't know, she just doesn't seem like the type of person to kind of gravitate toward my beats, but I really did appreciate that she like reached out to me, and she really did have a very unique style going on, and I thought that was pretty cool. How it's not all like hip hop cats out there just trying to like reach out to you and stuff. Some people are really just trying to experiment, see what happens, you know. So it's kind of cool.
And I think that your style of production, but even others, that has a crossover appeal too, where kind of has that jazzy feel. So you could almost hear it on an R&B track as well. So let's fast forward to currently, man. What you talked a little bit about who you've worked with, but what are you currently working on? I know you probably had a lot of time during this quarantine situation.
Oh,
so what are you currently working on? What in the lab right now?
Right now, I'm just really just trying to. I recently got an MPC Live, so I'm just really trying to see what's up with that. Because I actually came from the Machine MK3. That was my first real drum machine that I started on. And that thing recently kind of shit the bed, so I had to find a replacement. So I've been rocking with the MPC. I just got the Live MK2, and I'm actually really loving it. Took a little while to get used to the workflow and everything, but I'm pretty comfortable with it now. So I think I'm going to be working on some beat tapes and some future collabs with some artists. So we'll see what that brings me. But yeah.
Speaking of which, man, if you had your ideal, I'll let you list 3 artists that you would love to work with, man. Who would they be?
Ooh, that's another good question, man. Let's see. I'd say number 1 would probably be Madlib.
Yeah.
Maybe another one would be Action Bronson. I think he's really cool.
Oh yeah.
He's got some great stuff out there. And then maybe either Earl Sweatshirt or maybe Knowledge.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be something interesting. Or even like Anderson .Paak, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is something that, again, I kind of was thinking about and wanted to ask you. Maine is not exactly known as a hip hop, hotbed.
Yeah.
What is something about Maine hip hop, man, that people don't know?
I think something that people don't know is that the community is actually getting a lot bigger than people think. I mean, it's still relatively small because Maine isn't really. It's kind of quiet up over here, which is nice too as well. But recently, like I live in Portland, and the Portland scene's actually getting it's getting a lot bigger than it used to be for sure. Like I don't even know, like maybe 5 years ago, it would be like a struggle to find like another producer, even just like even like a place to do gigs for strictly producers and stuff. But in the last few years, I've been seeing a lot more producers pop up in venues and gigs. And I recently went to there's a studio called Suntiki Studios, a local studio that's really, really dope. They do live shows and stuff like that. And I actually did some sets with a fellow producer, Jay Wisdom, who's also another really awesome local producer. So shout out to him. But yeah, just in the last few years, man, Portland's definitely popping. And there's just a lot more going on, like sonically as well. Outside of hip hop as well, there's just a lot of talented groups.
So where would you like to see yourself, man? Give me 2 to 3 years from now. Talk a little about who you'd like to work with, but where would you like to see yourself 2 to 3 years from now?
2 to 3 years from now, I'd like to see myself somewhere where I could do the producing full time, make a full time living from it. So I could just. It's not even really about the money to me. It's really about like just being able to focus on the music completely, where I don't have any like work obligations or anything. None of that 9 to 5 that I got to worry about. I got the money squared away. I got the studio, the dream studio set up, and I'm just able to work on music every day, just how I want to be doing it. And yeah, some people I'd want to be working with. I'd want to be doing a lot of stuff with Madlib, Alchemist, the other artists I've been mentioning, as well as just reaching out and doing as many projects as I can, just to grow as much as I can in those short few years. And I really want to cement a lasting legacy, just like Dilla did over the years, with the sheer amount of quality albums, collabs, and projects he did over the years with other artists.
Now, for those artists that are listening to this, are you open to artists contacting you?
Of course. Anytime, if anyone wants to collab on anything, I am absolutely open to it. I don't really judge anybody on their music, really. As long as we can both vibe and we have the chemistry and we have similar vision, I'm down to collab. Hit me up anytime. Feel free to send me an email. Feel free to hit me up on Instagram. Anywhere, really.
So you just kind of mentioned those. Give me what's the best way for them to contact you. Give me your handles.
I'd say the first best way I'd say is Instagram, which would be Soulstice_beats. And how to spell that would be SOULSTICE and then underscore beats. And then the next best way I'd say is email, really. And my email is solsticebeats145@gmail.com. Same way as you spell Soulstice on Instagram.
My man Soulstice, man, all the way from Portland, Maine. Thank you so much for joining us at Hip Hop, man.
Thank you.
Best of luck to you in the future.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you for having me once again.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Process of Hip Hop. Join us next week for our next episode. The Process of Hip Hop is produced and edited by me, Brian Joseph. Executive produced by Dale Harewood. Music by DJ Big Mike of Real Side Records at realsiderecords.com.